What's up, everyone? Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the InCamp podcast, where we talk all hunting, all fishing, all the hard-earned lessons that keep us coming back season after season. I'm your host, Aaron Hepler. And what I really want to say today is Happy New Year. This is our first full episode since the new year started. I'm really excited for this guest today. I'm excited to get to share him with you. My guest today is Nathan Endicott. Go check out Endicott Films on YouTube, because Nathan's content is, in my opinion, when it comes to Western hunting, when it comes to any type of deer, when it comes to elk, his filming is really unmatched. And I'll tell you one thing about Nathan. Nathan knows what he's doing when a bow is in his hand. He knows how to rise to the challenge, and you are going to love all the stories that he tells in this one. There's definitely plenty of solid archer advice in this one, some strategy stuff, but man, we tell a lot of stories, and man, it's a fun one. I learned a lot talking to Nathan, and he's definitely one of a kind. So I think you'll enjoy this. Again, Happy New Year. Thanks for listening. It really means a lot to me that you guys keep coming back week after week. If you could, I'm going to ask this in advance this week. If you could leave the show a review and a rating so it reaches more ears, especially if you like this content, that would be fantastic. I would really appreciate it. And if you're listening to the show and not following, give it a follow, because that also helps. If not, I do really appreciate you coming back week after week to listen in. Enjoy this show. This is InCamp Podcast. All right. Welcome back to the InCamp Podcast. I keep saying the horn. Nobody seems to know what the horn means, but I'm on the horn. Yeah, the horn. I'm on the horn with somebody from the opposite side of the United States. You probably know him. You probably love him. Nathan Endicott.
Hey,
good to meet you, dude.
Likewise.
Yeah. So I started this podcast in March, and you were one of the people I'm like, I'm going to have Nathan on the podcast at some point in time. Because I watched some of your, obviously I saw your podcast with Cam, but dude, the YouTube content that you put out it's really unmatched. Like, just the scenery that you get, the animals that you film, it is really something to love. I love watching it. It's great stuff.
I appreciate that. I mean, there's a lot of good filmers and filmmakers, and I think what I'm doing is I just want to make it entertaining for my kids. I want to make it entertaining for like a non-hunting audience, and then also like portray like my love for it. So I guess that's my own unique thing. It's slightly different than most of the other stuff, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess, do you feel like you grew up under a pretty big shadow growing up with hunting, as far as your dad and Cameron?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's a shadow, but I definitely look up to my dad and Cam for what they do in the industry. Yeah. Being in this community, they definitely get a lot of attention with archery and bow hunting, which is good. I think it's good attention.
Yeah.
And so, and with my dad, he drug me along on every hunt, pretty much imaginable, but I was pretty focused on education and sports until late in life. So it was late in life that I did anything really with film and editing. So.
One thing that I'm focused on a lot, the reason I called this InCamp was because I'm not, I love whitetail hunting because that's what we have here. And I love the camp vibe that I get from that. But I love everything, man. Like, I like bluegill fishing. I like fishing for pike. I like bow fishing. I like hunting whitetails. I've bow hunted bears this year a little bit. And like, I love everything I can get my hands on. Yeah. But why don't you tell me what your camp was growing up?
That's awesome. Yeah, I guess I've never really been asked that too. So Dad started taking me hunting and hiking about the time I could walk. I mean, I was obsessed with it because he would film his hunts. He owned an archery shop. Like what was there? I mean, there was no chance I wasn't going to like either fall in love with it or completely run away from it. Like, it was one or the other. And so I fell in love with it. What camp looked like is both. We would do opening day archery elk in Eastern Oregon. In Eastern Oregon, we have an over-the-counter 30-day roughly, archery hunt for elk. And camp was either backpacking across a really big canyon. Sometimes we meet up with another set of guys and their kids, meet up at elk camp, and they could drive sometimes on one side of the canyon and we would hike through and hunt through on the opposite side and kind of join up. Or we'd hike into some remote wilderness areas. One of my earliest memories was we hiked into what's called the Eagle Cap Wilderness in Oregon. And dad had already taken me in there before one time, and he had led me to a tree stand that was, so we're already in there like 3 to 4 miles. And then this tree stand's another mile from the base camp where we just have our tents.
Uh-huh.
And he took me there one time, was like, all right, you can find in the dark, right? And I'm like, well, I'll give it a try. I mean, I'm 13 or 14 years old, like really young.
Yeah.
But from day one, dad would always be like, which way is the truck? Which way is the tent? Like which way? And he would either really grill you or be like, oh yeah, I guess you're right. You came close there. So camp looked like hanging out with dad, hanging out with dad's buddies, being mostly at a tent site, backpacked in a wilderness, really depending on everything you can carry, some heavy loads, some fun memories. So I guess it wasn't exactly as glamorous as a nice cabin with some heat, going out to
Yeah.
sit the stands in the morning. That wasn't a part of it. So I have done that later in life and I enjoy it. I enjoy the mix of whitetail hunting. I've done it in Texas before with a buddy, really good friend, Brian Stevens, is more to the hunt sweatshirt. So I love that part. And I love the obsession that guys have over whitetail and like watching the trail cam pictures for the day, kind of
Yeah.
scrolling through what's sent and cell cam and like, oh, this deer, he's only come by a couple times. He's real elusive. So, I mean, I love everything about hunting. I just didn't grow up that way. I grew
Yeah.
up very much different. Yeah.
Yeah. In PA has like a pretty big tradition when it comes to deer hunting. Like everybody goes up to the North Woods in PA
Hmm.
and does like a rifle camp, and there everybody comes, and it's like that, like the cabin and whatever. I think the cool thing about your story, Nathan, is like camp is what it is when you get there. And it doesn't, like, to me, it's like, okay, you're coming to my house today. Today, my house is camp. Tomorrow, it might be a 3-person tent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And actually the logo of my podcast, and I don't think I've mentioned this, but the logo of my podcast is I went on my first elk hunt in Colorado in 22, and that tent is my wall tent that I stayed in. And like, halfway through the week, my buddies all got punch drunk and they were like, man, we're not seeing any elk. And like, they hung a log with like sticks up on it. So that's that's
Oh,
the antlers on my logo for the podcast. So, like I said, camp is what it is when you get there. And I love that influence that your dad had on you. Cause like you said, there's no chance you weren't going to do any of that stuff growing up.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's a chance, but a pretty
Yeah.
slim one, I would imagine. It's kind of like
Yeah, for sure.
fit into the household. You're probably going to be outside hunting.
Do you remember the first time you saw a deer while you were hunting?
Mm. No, but I do remember. So my earliest memory of hunting blacktail with my dad, and blacktails are local deer here on the west side of the Cascades of
Hmm.
Oregon.
Yeah.
And I wasn't old enough to hunt, but I recall walking an old gravel road. We call them old grades or logging roads. So we're walking this old
Yep.
grade and it's almost dark. It's like it's last light. And I believe it's one of the last days of season as well. That's probably why my dad was taking me because he'd probably given up at
Hmm.
that point. We'd also already sat in a tree stand. So now I remember we'd sat in this tree stand for most of the evening hunt, and it was
Hmm.
super cold. I wasn't prepared for that at all. And we get out of the stand, we're walking this old grade, and this doe runs out in the road. And these old grades, you can't even drive them. It's like think grass. I guess there is a little bit of gravel where it's all rutted out from old traffic. And so, I mean, it's pretty common to hunt an old grade because the brush is so thick, you can't really
Right.
walk through it in some places, Scotch broom, um, second growth. And so then after the doe runs through the opening, here comes the buck. And this big 3-point runs out into the shoulder of the road. And so dad pulls back, shoots it with his bow, and just the thing falls like right there. Bullet runs down the grade a little ways and then dives off into a unit. And so we go
Yeah.
recover it. And so that was, I mean, I don't know if that was the first year, but that's the most memorable first memory. And I was probably 11, probably the year before I could hunt. And it was a big 3-point. He's got that mounted in his kind of man cave area where we have some deer. So it's kind of fun. Like
Yeah.
I was pretty impressionable at that age. Just remember it being pretty
Yeah.
special to see that with my dad.
That's a real cool memory. And it's cool to like relive it when you get to see that mount, I bet.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty neat. Yeah, it's been a long time. I kind of forgot I remembered that. But yeah, very vivid details of what that buck looked like and the lighting and all of that.
You ever you ever go back and try to just you think of all like the bucks you shot or maybe the deer that you shot and you're like, how many has it been? And you just kind of like replay each story in your mind and be like, oh yeah, now I remember that one. And sometimes you have to look at them to remember it.
Yeah, you're right. I just did this like the other day because I don't want it to fade. I don't want
Uh-huh.
those details. Like there is pictures, there's film, there's the mount or whatever, but I don't ever want to forget like the lighting and how I felt and being like this is probably not going to work out. Like thinking those thoughts and but hanging on to the last second. And then it did work out. Things like that there's so many memories that are special as a hunter, I think. And so
Mhm.
I think that reflecting back and reliving it is like pretty critical to what drives us to getting after it again when it's hard or things aren't going your way. Or even when you're out
Yeah.
there and you go through something hard, like take a hard fall, you get back up and you're
Yeah.
like, but yeah. So anyways, no, that's a
I,
fun thought.
yeah. I find myself doing that in the tree stand a lot, especially
Oh,
if
yeah.
I'm like in a spot I've hunted before, like, oh, I remember, whatever. Um, if you do you get to hunt whitetails pretty often? I know you go to Texas from time to time.
Yeah, I don't. I've gone to Texas a few times now, taken a few bucks with my bow, one with a gun. I don't rifle hunt a whole lot, mostly archery, but so
Yeah.
that's been the extent of it. And then I actually did get a whitetail buck with my bow in Oregon. We have whitetail that you can hunt in kind of the northeast corner, and so I went
Okay.
there in 2009. I went there in 2009 with my dad. We backpacked in the wilderness and I was sitting in a tree stand and I was able to get a whitetail with my bow. And
Oh,
it was
that's
a
cool.
velvet buck. So velvet
Oh,
wilderness
nice.
whitetail with my bow in Oregon. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest difference between a blacktail and a whitetail is?
I mean, it feels like there's too many dissimilar, yeah, things. Um,
Do you feel like blacktails are a lot I feel like whitetails are so edgy. I've thought about, maybe I can go and like try stalking a whitetail in the middle of timber, but here there's so much stuff on the ground. You make a lot of noise. Everything's so spooky. Do you think that's a big difference between the two?
yeah, probably your largest difference is how edgy, jumpy they are like a deer on crack is how I always think of it.
Yeah.
They are wiry, like constantly, looking around, constantly dropping their head to smell the ground. Like at least the
Hmm.
ones I've hunted,
I
and
agree with that.
the ones I've hunted are pressured. They live around people. The second that they walk onto somebody's private land, it's like they're just hanging out, like looking around. They know they're safe. And then the minute that you're in in the tree stand where they've been hunted, they are a different animal. And
Hmm.
I see that with blacktail, like or elk for that matter, when they're on their refuges or private land, like they know they're safe.
Yeah.
So all the animals do that, but I would say maybe whitetail a little bit more edgy, based on how much hunting pressure and how much human scent and human contact they come into. But yeah, they're very very edgy, and a lot of the deer I hunt that are blacktail, so they've adapted from hiding. So their primary
Okay.
defense is don't move to freeze and to hang out. Whereas a
Right.
whitetail, I don't have any clue. I've never really spent a lot of time thinking about it, but seems like they didn't adapt from hiding. They adapted from running away and using their
Oh
nose.
yeah.
Um, there was it the red wolf? Like they were probably more heavily hunted by wolves. plains wolves. So my guess why they're so edgy and use their nose so much more is probably because the primary predator was a wolf. And then I would say out west, and especially along the coast, there is no wolves running the Oregon coast. No way. So it's a
Yeah.
cougar. And a cougar doesn't really depend on its nose. It's going to sneak on by. So blacktail
Right.
adapted from watching its predator sneak on by. And it's like, woof, that was a close call. I just
Yeah.
held my ground. So I think so much of the animal's, demeanor and how they respond to hunting pressure is based on what they adapted from. And you see that too with axis deer in Maui. Axis deer in
Yeah.
Maui, they're overpopulated. They're
Right.
freaking everywhere. Some places they can't be hunted, but they are the edgiest deer. They're even more edgy than whitetail. And
Hmm.
they adapted from, I guess, tigers in India. So you got to think
Right.
a tiger would really suck.
Yeah.
to be
Yeah,
to
for
be the
sure.
dominant predator of the landscape, that would
Yeah. You're not getting
no
away.
bueno there. Yeah.
um, I like something about a blacktail. Like that's something that's like on a bucket list for me. Like it's,
Okay.
like I said, it's kind of like,
Did you get a bull
I don't know.
in Colorado?
I did. I shot a 6x6.
Wow. Good for you.
And thanks. It was a cool hunt, man. It was a drop camp, a public land drop camp, and nice guys. They do the bulls are over here sometimes, and sometimes they're over here. And I ended up I was really scouting on the first day, and we were kind of walking along a ridge, and we came across a wallow, and it was covered in ice, but it looked like it was hit the evening before, like the ice was broken and
Hmm.
refrozen. And I bugled, and I got like a real soft answer back. And I'm like, well, there's like a little opening in the timber down below us. And I'm like, I kind of think that thing's in there. And the guy that was with me, he's hunted a lot. He's hunted elk a long time and has killed a lot. But he was like, I don't think it's in there. It sounds further than you think. And I'm like, I don't know. It sounds like it's right there to me. And
Yeah.
he's like, no. So my plan is that our thermals were already like pushing up the hill. So my plan was to put him up top, and I would call down lower, and we set up that way. And I put my pack on the ground. I didn't even knock an arrow yet, and I bugled, and that was I'm glad I moved quick, because as soon as I bugled, he cut me off,
Hmm.
and I quick knocked an arrow, and I see him coming they're 70 yards away, and I knock an arrow, and I see two bulls coming, and I draw my bow, and I'm thinking he's going to be at 25 yards in no time.
Hmm.
And the only shot that I had was a, a frontal shot. And I'm like, I mean, I practiced this because I've been planning on coming here for 2 years, and oh my God, it's 25 yards. I think I can do it. And, I started to get worked up, and I had to calm myself down a little bit. And then I was like, he's getting ready. Like if I see I don't understand elk body language that much yet, but if I know a whitetail, he's about to peace out.
Yeah.
And I just took my time and pull and squeeze the trigger, and it he was kind of uphill a little bit from me. So it went right in the pocket, but it went up. So it hit him in the back of this, like it went through all his arteries and stuff and hit him in the back of the spine, and he fell
Yeah.
right over.
Wow.
And you know, the power of those things, because he could still move his head, and there was probably a 22-inch log laying next to him, and he just like full size tree, and he's just picking this log up with his antlers. Like I'm like,
Hmm.
oh my goodness, it was pretty. I did get I got two more shots in him, and and killed him pretty quick, but I was pretty excited, man. Like I was
That
kind
best
of
part
bummed that
for
it was
sure.
like, fortunately, I was like, okay, well, I can go call for you for the rest of the week, but the hunt was over. But in a sense, I was kind of fortunate because I had gotten a sty in my eye, and it was bothering me. But then I went to fill out my tag, and I'm like looking at the tag, and I'm like, I can't see it. And I thought my sunglasses were fogged. I put my sunglasses up, and I look at the guy that was with me, and I close my left eye, and all I can see is an outline
Hmm.
of my hunting buddy. And I'm like, I must have scratched. He said, it looks like your eye's all irritated. I must have scratched my eye with this dye or something, and couldn't see out of my right eye for like the rest of the week.
Oh, wow.
So it was kind of weird. And the guide was all worried that it was altitude sickness, which I don't, maybe it could have been, I don't know.
Hmm.
But it was a really fun experience. And it's not something, I have a lot of time to hunt, but it is kind of hard to take off. They don't want you to take off 2 weeks at a time. And that's kind of what you need to go from Pennsylvania to Colorado to.
Yep, and then allow yourself enough time. Yeah, that's pretty wild. So, yeah, you said it was a frontal, and then how close was he when they thought, or was it the guy that thought he was further away? Or
He
was it a buddy when
Yeah, so the elk were probably only 75 yards when we dropped down to that opening. I can't believe they
Jeez.
didn't see us
Yeah.
drop. I don't know how, because they actually, like, the way it laid, where they came from, it was kind of like a little draw, and
Yeah.
they were up that side of the draw and we were up this side of the draw. I don't know how they didn't see us because we were in the wide open, really. I just When I dropped him off, he wasn't very far from that wallow.
Hmm.
And when I came down, I took my time getting around like the edges of the trees in this opening. So I don't
Oh,
know if that
nice.
helped.
I bet
But
it
it was a
did,
big
yeah.
burn. Yeah, it was a big
Mm.
burn. So everything was like, I mean, you could see forever.
Oh, got it.
And I don't know how I didn't see him either. But as soon as I bugled and that thing cut me off, I looked across that opening and they were running across, like,
Jeez.
from
That's
from the
cool.
other side. It was another 6x6. It wasn't quite as big as the one I killed.
Mm.
And well, I mean, I would have been happy with a
Either.
spike.
Yeah, right.
But he's like 290,
Jeez,
294.
yeah, that's a great bull.
Yeah, so I was really happy with my first one. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And
Yeah.
I had I have like a Zaleo or whatever, and I texted my wife and I'm like, you're not gonna believe this, but I just shot a bull, and she's like, shut up. you know?
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
That was a fun year, man. 22 was a really good year.
Yeah, elk
Um,
hunting's a lot of fun. Do you have
did
plans to do it again now, or did you go since 22?
I haven't gone since 22. I'd like to go. I'd like to go again. Uh, I'm thinking 27. I might be able to go. Either
Yeah,
that, or I'm going to be able to get enough time to do a Western hunt for like Idaho bears or something like that. I'd really like to
that'd be
try.
cool. Yeah, spring bear
I
is a lot
love.
of fun, and Idaho bear is
Yeah,
affordable, really affordable for out of
yeah,
state.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I have a couple buddies who are really. I have some that have already done it, and I have a buddy that wants to hunt a wolf in the worst way.
Mm,
like he's a big predator guy. Like, loves hunting coyotes and stuff like that. So that's like on his bucket list too. So kind of want to do
yeah,
that kind of thing. But the elk, I'd love to do the elk thing every year, man. I would. The My challenge is I also love getting time to hunt at home. And if I take
mhm,
off 20 days, it like
eats
this
up.
October, I only worked 6 or 7 days in the whole month. And I'm
Sounds
like,
amazing.
oh, dude, I have so much fun like, I'm out here with my bird dog. I'm fishing on a
Yeah,
lake a little bit. But it is. Did you elk hunt this fall? I'm
I
sure you're elk
did.
hunt every year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my wife and I had a baby in August. S So our baby was, like, month old when season opened, and,
hmm
I mean, I got out a few times early on. At the end of season, I finally got out for a weekend, but I
Yeah.
kinda wrote it off, and I had big plans for the fall, so I was like, in my head, the agreement is, like, be as present, be as helpful as possible. Elk, if it happens, it happens, but, yeah, not a lot of
Yeah.
time this year, but in the past, I've taken a few bulls.
If you have to pick between blacktails and bulls, what are you picking?
Mm, blacktail. Uh,
Yeah.
the thing is that elk are a big animal, and especially
hmm
our Roosevelts. So on the west side, we
Yeah.
have Rosies, and if
Yeah.
you're gonna process that animal by yourself, you're not gonna do a very good job. You gotta have help. It's just
Yeah.
so massive. Like, I'm sure that your 6 point was a big mature bull, but
Yeah.
a big mature
I could move
Roosevelt?
him. Yeah. I could move it on my own. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, I came home with like 225 pounds of meat, I think.
yeah.
Two
I
225 or 250, but I could move him, like, I could pull on him and move him.
Yeah. Hindquarters on my bull from 2024 let's see, 24. So yeah, last
Uh-huh.
year,
Yeah.
90-pound hindquarters, 60-pound shoulders. I had 60 pounds off of each neck meat, um, each side, and 50 pounds per each back strap. Like,
Holy crap.
can you imagine that?
That's a huge elk.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I have
I
a
think
photo on my
my
Instagram. If you go look at it, this thing is a
I'll have to
horse.
go I'll have to go back and look at that. That's
It's
wild.
just a mature. There's slightly bigger like bulls out. I mean, there's body size bigger bulls, but it's a giant bodied bull. Like you really
Do you have
can't
any
move it
idea
at
how
all.
old that was?
That bull was probably like 7.5, 8.5,
Okay.
which is like on the upward side of their age.
Yeah.
Yeah, just going off of like maturity and bull size and what I see from antlers and growth over the years. But they really don't get a whole lot bigger than that bull's body size. He was a toad. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. When the guides picked it up, well, not the guides, they have wranglers or whatever that actually brought us to the campsite. They said it was probably a 4-year-old bull
Yeah.
by looking at the skull and stuff. So not like a super old bull, but I did have to get a U-Haul to bring it home.
Oh my goodness.
Just because we had all the, I had two, but it was four of us that did the camp together. And I had two of the guys with me, and the guy that hunted with me for the whole week, he flew out, but I had all his gear. So I'm like, yeah, we're going to have to rent a U-Haul. And because I wanted to process it on my own, um, I love doing that part. That's one of my favorite things to do is, process whatever I get if that option is available to me. And it was. So the Wranglers brought it to a processor, and they flash froze it for me. And they brought the head to a taxidermist, and he like blew the brains out and stuff I just did a Euro mount. My house isn't big enough I don't have enough wall space for a shoulder,
Especially on a bull.
Yeah,
Yeah. Euros are sweet, especially
they
on
are
elk.
they are cool. Um, you've been pretty successful at picking a target buck when it comes to hunting blacktails. What's your process that you think might be different than somebody that's hunting a whitetail? Because like you said, it's like either you're glassing something or you're picking. If you're not using trail cameras, you're kind of looking at the sign that maybe a specific deer's laying down, whether it's a big track or a rub that you recognize or something like that. But how are you picking a target blacktail?
That's a good question. And it reminds me of another difference. So with whitetail hunting, a lot of times, like the properties that you're hunting or even the public
Uh-huh.
lands for that matter, it's like you can't really effectively still hunt or be on your feet because you're just going to scare them off the property. You're going to scare them out of the zone and they won't come
Right.
back. Right. Or if they do come back, they probably
They're
won't walk that
cagey.
same trail or they're more cagey. Like your best chance to kill whitetail each year is like when it has not been screwed with yet. Like it
Yeah.
hasn't smelled you yet. Like that
Uh-huh.
first opportunity, that's the one you got to capitalize. And my buddy
Uh-huh.
Brian, he targets a specific deer and then he has it on trail camera year after year after year. And he gets it to the age he wants it. And then he's like, now I'm finally going to go after it, but I'm going to wait till the wind is perfect. I'm not going to sit that stand or that blind. And he's got like multiple at each site. He's not going to sit it
Uh-huh.
until the wind is absolutely ideal. It's going to hold steady all day. He just won't even risk it. And then he
Yeah.
sneaks in there, bags his feet, gets in his blind the hour and a half or whatever it is before daylight to make sure he's good and tight. And then the buck comes through and he's able to make a good shot that first time. Nothing like what I do for blacktail. Like not even
Yeah.
remotely close, but that's what it takes. It feels like, for the whitetail hunting scene to get your target buck. With
Yeah.
blacktail, I'm hunting vast public lands,
Uh-huh.
huge areas that
Uh-huh.
people may never go. I kind of like to scout to the point where I'm finding spots that I just would imagine no hunter's ever been. It's either too
Uh-huh.
difficult, too far, not worth it. And then within those zones that I find, I usually will pick up some antlers and that kind of tells me what kind of genetics are in the area. Throw up a
Uh-huh.
camera, get a buck on camera and be like, this could be a pretty good spot to hunt. I'm not really worried about bumping the buck out of the spot because I could just go find him on the next ridge, a mile away.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
go anywhere these deer go. I can trail them in the snow and I like to hunt late And that's a huge advantage in tracking. So if you have some tracks, you could trail them until you catch up with them. I don't have to worry about competition from other folks. A lot of times there's a lot of people. It's getting pretty popular. But again, I'm always willing to just maybe go somewhere where nobody else is. I don't worry about it too much. And then looking for just like the biggest, oldest buck I could find or whatever makes me pretty excited. And man, I just love bow hunting. I love putting in the effort and the grind. So when a decent buck comes along, I'm not going to hold back.
If you're chasing a specific buck, do you often run into one that'll just make you tick right away and you take the
Yeah.
opportunity?
Yeah. Because these deer too, like some of them you have no idea ever existed. I mean,
Right.
nobody finds their antlers. Nobody has them on camera. They're just a deer that exists um, completely off everybody's radar. And then it moves into an area, a new area for the rut. And it happens to cross paths with you on that day. And I mean, the buck I killed this year wasn't my target buck. My target
Uh-huh.
buck was actually a really cool 5x5 that I videoed last January with my son. And
Uh-huh.
I thought it was so cool. Like we saw this buck together. It was the first mature blacktail my son's ever seen. And my son's 5. And so we did this big hike and he sees the deer and he's like, whoa, like that was so big. He's like, I want daddy to shoot that buck. And so it was like really special. And then I didn't hold out for that deer. And then it came by a camera like 4 days after I killed my buck opening day. But my buck opening day, I'd found an antler from it. And it's my biggest typical to date. It's like
Oh, wow.
it's 145-inch blacktail, perfect, typical 4x4, good mass, which, you throw around numbers like that with folks that whitetail hunt, it sounds like a
That's a
smaller
good
buck or whatever,
blacktail.
but for
No, that's a
blacktail,
good
it's
blacktail.
pretty good. And so much of blacktail hunting too, there's like genetics for areas. I guess it's the same for
Uh-huh.
whitetail, managed deer. So it's like you got to think like the managed deer are all the best genetics in certain parts of the state. And I could go do that, but I think I like to hunt the zones I'm familiar with. So I just kind of return to places that I really like. And so the upper end of the deer I hunt, if you had a non-typical crazy freak, maybe mid 160s, a
Uh-huh.
typical blacktail, the biggest I've ever seen is 150s, like
Uh-huh.
153 for my zones. And then, but I've seen guys not too far away shoot bucks that are in the mid 150s and they see typicals that get in the 160s as well. So it's just like genetics are a big player. I don't really chase inches. I chase the experience and just having a good time and the
Absolutely.
bucks that I'm familiar with. But yeah, so I didn't get my target buck this year. He's still alive and he's big. I kind of hope to find the antlers this spring. I tried last year really hard, but didn't find them.
Do you have a lot of so here if I find a buck that I want to find his antlers, I have to find them the next spring, like because they get chewed up so fast, or
So fast.
usually
Yeah.
somebody else follows them. But is there a lot of are they getting chewed up pretty good there? Or that you find a lot of greenies and stuff?
That's a good question. Depends on the spot. Some spots, like there's a ton of squirrels and whatever that chew them up, and they could be chewed
Yeah,
up that year. You got to find them
yeah,
fresh, or else they're going to get chewed up. Seems
yeah,
like usually the 1-year-old antlers, those are the ones that must smell or taste right to a squirrel.
yeah,
And they're going to annihilate those. But
yeah,
if they can make it through that 1 year without getting chewed on, then it's like the squirrel never
yeah.
finds it and it just kind
That's
of
true.
tucks away. Yeah. And then I'll find some
Like if the
old ones.
calcium's washed out of it or something, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. But that's funny.
So in the area that I'm hunting, like a pretty good representation of a whitetail is probably 125, 130, just because of the people pressure. And you'll find them here in the 150s, 160s, 170s. There's not a whole lot of them. Maybe, if I find 3 that are above 150, I'm like, okay, that's a pretty good year. And then you have a lot that are, 120s to maybe 140. And a friend of mine shot one that was 9.5 years old, and it had all these drop tines and whatever, and it was 166. So he
Jeez.
shot it on, I think, don't quote me, Bert, if you're listening to this, I think he shot it on October 31st. And he went out 3 days later, and he never hunted the spot. He just thought, I think it's good. I think I can get in there with the access, whatever. And he went and he slipped in there, and he ended up rattling the buck in on like pretty heavily pressured public land, a 9.5-year-old buck. And he went out 3 days later and was like, I think this looks like a spot where a big buck would lay. And he looked down and found that deer's shed 3
Oh
days
my
later
gosh.
from the year before.
Wow. Sometimes it's just meant
So
to
yeah,
be.
I know, right? And I've seen that, I've gone to his house and seen the deer. I can put both my hands on that thing's forehead.
Mm.
Like it's a big animal, but
Yeah.
9.5-year-old, they figure out ways to hide, man.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know how, but how did your fall shape up this year? I mean, you did pretty well.
Yeah. Again, like didn't get the elk hunt that I wanted, but I still had my chances. Like I still got on the bulls, still got on some really good ones, had the bugling back and forth. But yeah, that didn't have the time I really needed. But I had some goals and they
Uh-huh.
happened. So yeah, I really wanted to get a blacktail with my bow in every state. I started last year with the goal. I did Alaska, Southeast Alaska. I'd never done Southeast. I'd done Kodiak. And so I did
Uh-huh.
early. And so I just did Alaska and I wanted to pull off the entire West Coast in a year. That was kind
Yeah.
of one of the goals. And so that's what I did last year. So I started with Alaska. I got two really cool Sika blacktail up there. And then I hunted California, and then I'd hunted California the year before and almost killed like this huge non-typical, just a freak blacktail, like a once in a lifetime buck. I missed him, and it's a long story, and I made a film about it. It's called El Macho, but basically I came up on him. He had double backed from where I saw him last, so he's watching me on a ridge line, looking for him through some cliffs, and I basically just turn around 180, and he's staring at me from his bed. And I was just stuck. I was froze and had a 70-yard shot, which is a poke.
Yeah.
And I had a tree that arced, and
Uh-huh.
I knew that it either hit the tree, that arced above him, or I'd perfectly be under it and I'd hit the buck. And
Yeah.
I'm decent shot, practice a lot. The buck held, and I duck, I shoot, and it just hits that tree and skips up. So that
Oh,
was my opportunity on the once in a lifetime, true once in a lifetime blacktail. I may never see another buck like it. I know for a fact I'll never see one like it, but even just to have a buck in that caliber, I may never see another buck in that caliber. So California was like a redo, and I ended up
yeah.
getting $2. You can get 2 tags there for blacktail.
Uh-huh.
So I got this really cool velvet buck early with my bow. It's a fork by 3,
Nice.
and then there's a rifle. It rolls over into a rifle tag next, or a rifle
Okay.
season date. And so with my second tag, I went down and ended up shooting a buck that was right by my tent. It was like 8 yards from my tent.
Oh,
So that
that's
was pretty
cool.
cool. And then I had time, so I bombed up to Washington. And the second day of a rifle hunt up there, you could buy a tag over the counter. So literally drove up to Washington, bought a tag at 5:30 a.m. Was hunting by 8:30. So I ended up getting a rifle buck up there. And then I had Oregon left, and I got a good Oregon buck. So I was like, wow, that's insane. Like I never would have
Oh,
thought
man.
that actually happened. I just wanted the opportunity. I just like to hunt,
Yeah.
but all those hunts came together really quickly. And so I always wanted to do it with my bow, and Washington I'd only ever rifle hunted. And I don't do a lot of rifle hunting, which is crazy. It's just that it overlaps with Oregon. So I'm not gonna,
Right.
yeah, it's just kind of like I'm not that good. Like I can't I can't think that I'm gonna actually get it done in Oregon with my bow and still have time to do Washington late archery. That's exactly what happened this year. So I was able to get a buck in Hawaii. It was impossible task. And somehow it came together, made a really hard shot on the one buck I saw, like a good 3 point. And that is literally something that probably could have spent a lifetime trying to accomplish and not done it. It's just,
Yeah.
it's an impossible hunt that came together. And I'm just super grateful for help that I got from a buddy. And anyways, so that happened. And then I came home. I was able to get my Oregon blacktail, my best typical to date on opening day. Like, what the heck is going on? It's like I need to buy some lottery tickets or something. Cause again, I
Yeah.
like to hunt. I like to push myself. I do a lot of work. I make sure my bow is tuned. I practice like crazy, but the rest of it's like it's going to happen or it won't. Like
Yeah.
it's either meant to be or it's not. Like I don't know how else to explain it. You can't. Your odds are just not that high. They're just not that good.
Yeah.
Um, and so for it to come together like this is like I really feel blessed. That's the best I could say. Is I feel super blessed. I think it was just had to be meant to be for it to come together like that. And I had it in my head the whole time. I told my wife, like, hey, just so you know, if I happen to get a buck in Oregon early, I want to do Washington with my bow. I've never done it with my bow, but I have to kill one in Oregon first. I won't even go up there. I won't even think about it unless I get an Oregon buck. So I got my
Yeah.
Oregon buck and I was like, well, shoot, I've got some time. So on the next weekend, I drive up, buy my tag over the counter at 6 a.m. at a Fred Meyer's. I think was it Black Friday? It was Black Friday. So buy my tag on Black Friday, get out, start hunting, got in some bucks right away. Actually, that first day I'd had a really big mature 4-point run by pushing a doe. And I
Yeah.
was just like, this is too good to be true. What is going on? And I wasn't very aggressive at all. I was just like out there to enjoy because I really wanted to hunt and just get the grind of it. So yeah, I came
Uh-huh.
home. My kids were sick, so I came home early. I hunted a day and a half, came home, helped out with the sick kiddos, get sick myself, go back up the following weekend and get right back into some bucks. Had a great experience. End up on my last day of the second trip. I got a really cool Washington buck with my bow, and that's on film. Did you see that little clip? The
I I
short.
watched I watched like 3 of them the other day. I know I
It's
watched
a
El Macho, and then I watched the last mule deer video that you put up too.
oh oh dust in Arizona.
Yes. I
Yep.
watched those the other day.
I
It,
just made this short film of the Washington buck. It's a short.
okay.
It's just a YouTube short.
Oh,
Yeah, it
I
is.
didn't watch any of the shorts. I'm gonna have to watch it now.
Oh,
It sounds
okay,
exciting.
yeah. It was filmed on a phone, and I like to do mostly like phone film. I won't typically make a film of, and it was just too cool
Yeah.
not to share. So you got to see that. It's unreal. Like I don't want to ruin it for you, so you're gonna have to
Oh
watch it.
man, shit. I'm
So
gonna
I
have to
rounded
watch it
out.
now.
I got all the bucks with my bow in all the different states, and
That's
it's like now that
amazing.
my goal is finished, I can just keep trying again.
So how many kids you said you have 5 kids,
We
and
have
how old are
5.
they all?
Yeah, we have 7, 5, 3, 2, and new. Yeah, so
You
they
are
are.
busy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild. And especially when they're
Yeah.
sick. Like, so they all got sick recently and it's like it just goes through the house, man. It's pretty
Yeah.
gnarly.
Oh, dude. I know, like one of us gets sick in the house first, and it usually takes 3 weeks because we're all like trying not to get sick. And then it's like, we might as well just do this because then you go through a whole month and then it's like, oh man, everybody's terrible for however long. But
Yeah.
uh, that's pretty exciting, man. You're gonna have a lot of little proteges to to put a stamp on at some point.
Yeah, the proteges is what I call it. I have a lot of sons. I have 4 sons and my oldest is a girl. So,
Okay.
yeah, in
Are
my
they
5-year-old, he's obsessed.
Is he?
My
Okay.
boy.
I was gonna
Yeah.
ask, did they all seem interested?
I don't know. And I mean, yeah, they all love watching the films that I make. And
Sure.
yeah, my son, my 2-year-old, his first words were elk. He said elk for like 6 months, and then he stopped saying all words. Now he can only really say dada. So
Yeah.
he's my little guy. Yeah, the oldest again, he'll like cry if I don't take him on a hike. He wants to go find antlers. He's found quite
Nice.
a few for his age, so it's like
Oh,
I don't
cool.
want to. It's kind of hard too. I'm like, hey, bud, it's actually really hard. Like, I don't know what's happening here. You've been on some good ones, but I'll throw him in my pack, and he's getting out of the weight where I really don't want to pack a 50-pound year old,
Yeah.
5-year-old. But yeah, it's a lot of
I
fun. I
guess
like to take him.
I guess it's a good workout, good practice though,
Some
right?
good training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you doing a lot of training for the type of hunting that you're doing specifically? I mean, I know
Uh,
you're a runner.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't train super hard because I'm constantly hiking and
Yeah.
or running, and I do that a
Sure.
lot. I'll do some like cross training, which is occasionally I'll cycle and just get a good stretch in, or do some upper body.
Yeah.
Shoot my bow a lot, but yeah, I grew up running, and distance running was my life forever. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was a collegiate distance runner.
Oh,
Did really
wow.
well at that. So I have a lot of endurance, athleticism, built up over the years. So it's kind of muscle memory. And at this point, I just
Yeah.
try to stay in shape. I just really don't want my body to get out of shape. So I do everything I can just to keep the fitness there.
Sure. I mean, it's so important. Eh, You could well, I don't know about hunting blacktails. You could be an out of shape whitetail hunter for sure, but you probably not. I don't think you'd have as much fun as if you do if you stay in shape. But I always think that's one thing I'm always jealous of people that are like from the West. I'm like, you got that elevation. If you came to the East, you could run circles around whitetails.
Yeah.
What elevation are you at when you're hunting most of the time?
It really varies, honestly. It just depends on the area, the spot. Um, our deer, they kind of like to be low or high. It seems like on
Uh-huh.
any typical mountain range,
Yeah.
just based on the thermals. They like to be in very cool pockets, so like in draws and valleys. Yeah, they don't really love the heat too much,
Yeah.
especially that time of year when they're putting on their winter coats. But yeah, elevation is just all over the map, so really hard to pinpoint it.
Do you ever, I guess my point in asking the first question was, do you ever struggle when you get to a certain elevation or do you not really notice it at this point?
Oh, with my lungs or something?
Yeah.
No. With running, like as a collegiate distance runner, we'd go to places like Northern Arizona or Utah in elevation somewhere between 5 and 8 and 1,000. And so you're going to tank. Like it's no way around it. Unless you show
Yeah.
up and race the same day, by the time your blood oxygen level drops to acclimate, or it kind of like it's adjusting
Yeah.
and your oxygen levels drop in your blood, you cannot compete at that
Yeah.
level. But hiking is a lot different. You could always stop, keep your heart rate from going too high. You don't want to go anaerobic ever in
Uh-huh.
any sort of endurance activity. So
Right.
I'm gonna feel my heart rise. I'm gonna stop it by just stopping, breathing controlled, calming myself, and so yeah, you can kind of acclimate over the course of a few days if you do go somewhere that's pretty high altitude. Now,
Yeah.
Colorado, I mean, 8,000, 9,000 feet, like no matter what, you're going to feel winded. You're going to feel winded getting out the truck. So
Yeah.
there's a level at which like the principle of just, moderation doesn't apply. And that's Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah. I killed that bull at 10,000 feet
That's
and
cool.
I was sucking eggs, man.
Yeah.
The first 3 days were hard. And after that, it wasn't that bad. But like the first night we went uh, from 5,000 feet to 10,000 feet
Mm,
and we stayed in tents. I was like, man, like I'm rolling over in my sleeping bag and I'm like, this is kind of weird. Like
yeah.
it was definitely a weird feeling. Is there a lot of point strategy that you have to kind of navigate when you're hunting all these different states, or most of these are over the counter for you or
Over the counter.
over the counter?
Yeah.
That's the way to
I
go,
don't,
man.
yeah, there's not a lot of late archery tags anywhere that for blacktail that would require an application with
Yeah.
with a lot of deer points. A lot of mule deer hunting is that way.
Yeah.
Not so much with blacktail.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. That makes
Yeah.
it easier to go. Are you noticing too a lot of do you have to adapt a lot like state to state or is everything kind of similar?
You have to adapt state to state. Blacktail have the same tendencies. So
Mhm.
typically, if you start to really learn them well, you can figure out their spots in
Yeah.
just about any state I go.
And I guess it's pretty easy to e-scout them that way then, huh?
Mm, tough thing about e-scouting is that there's so much land and there's so much void and there's so many places they're not. So
Yeah.
typically what I'll do is I'll pick an area that I'm like, this is remote. This is far away from where I'd suspect anybody's hunting. So there's probably a deer. And if there's a deer, it's probably older than a, 1 or 2 year old or whatever. So it's like if I find the deer, it's probably a shooter. And I don't really care for inches again of antlers. So I'm just going to go out there and try to give my best towards like a good mature buck.
Sure.
So you drop a bunch of pins where you want to go, where you think it's remote, go scout the crap out of it. And then when you get done, you're like, well, I'll never go back.
Yeah.
Or you found that one buck that you think might be worth going after. And then so
Yeah.
the one pin out of the 10 works and it might work out for you.
As a Western hunter and an archer, what's an area that you've failed in that you remember really well that taught you one of the hardest, but probably one of the best lessons that you've learned?
Yeah. As an archer, I mean, there's so many.
There's usually a lot if you've hunted long enough.
I mean, I started bow hunting when I was 12 and I'm 37, almost 38. If you just think about the equipment over those years and what I started with, my first bow was like a PSC Spider. I think
Yeah.
was pulling 45 pounds. I was shooting steel force cut on contact broadheads because we believed it had better penetration at that time. Can't tell you how many bulls that I've shot in the shoulder blade that had like an inch and a half of penetration with
Uh-huh.
pretty much pulling no weight because A,
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that the lungs were a bigger target. And all the
Yeah.
3D that I ever shot with my dad, that bullseye is sitting on the heart where
Yeah.
you have the triangle of the bone that comes from shoulder blade to lower leg.
Yeah.
That's where that
Yep.
bullseye is. Well, I didn't realize that that's not the best spot for a
An
kid.
elk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially an elk to aim at. I did the spring bear thing since I was 12 with my bow. My dad never let me do
Oh, cool.
rifle. So I shot my first spring bear when I was 13. My dad called that in. I shot it at 13 yards with my bow. We just use a doe bleat and we
Wow.
squeal on it. I have
Yeah.
film of that. It's pretty gnarly. So lessons are that like it is very, very easy in archery to rush your shot. If you
Yeah.
rush your shot, you're not going to execute well. You're going to punch the trigger. You're going to have target panic. You're going to flinch. Uh, the equipment, that was the biggest lesson learned over time is I had to upgrade my equipment or else I wasn't going to be very successful. And faster bows, stiffer spined arrows. Then it's adjusting sights. I was very old school for a long time. I didn't want to have a mover sight, didn't want to screw up. I liked the bare bones of a fixed pin sight. But then after I realized I shot a bull like a 345 bull in the antlers because I pin stacked and it was only like 68 yards and I was just holding just a little bit over its back and I just drilled its antlers and it was a big bull.
Oh,
The
yeah.
antlers came down. Had I had a mover pin, I would have just dialed it right to 68, touch off and
Right.
would have pinwheeled it. So, I mean, there's a lot of lessons learned there. I think with cutting yards in archery is huge. So, when you're shooting steep angles like we do in the West all the time, you got to know to cut
Yeah.
yardage or have a compensating rangefinder. Now I kind of have a sense for like, I don't need to range an animal. I have a pretty good sense for how many yards to cut given the distance, just based off of years of
Yeah.
experience and just all those things. Knowing what kind of sign to look for and when to slow up, when to go faster, when to just bounce to a new area.
Yeah.
Yeah, trusting your instincts there. So, gosh, it's like I can't even stop. Like it's too many lessons to cover on a podcast.
Yeah,
But
for sure. I mean, they're all good things to think about. What was something that being a collegiate athlete,
mm,
what the hard part of that, how did you apply it to hunting, or was it easy to apply that same level to hunting?
it's a good question. Um, so if you're going to go out and run for 3 hours,
Uh-huh.
is a personal question. Would would you put in headphones by chance and listen to something to make that time go by
Prob
a little bit nicer?
Probably. I'm a clock watcher
Probably.
when I run.
Yeah. So let's just pretend that you weren't even wearing a watch. You were going to go
Okay.
out and you were just going to be in tune with like, what's your heart feeling like? What's your breathing feeling like? You're just like looking
Yeah.
around and like, you're just having the
Mm.
time of your life and it's 3 hours
Mhm.
long.
Yeah.
So that is my mindset. I had to be, obviously, if I was going to compete and be really good at running, I had to love it. Like,
Yeah.
like I never wore a watch really. I went off all feel. And even when our coach would
Mm.
tell us like, do not run slower than a 6:30 minute mile pace and go for 2 hours, like we did exactly that. Like everything was
Wow.
feel, everything was
Yeah.
just instinct. And I loved it. Like there was never like, this is going to stink today. This is going to be hard. Like, I'm not looking forward to the rain. Oh, it's going to be really muddy. It was just like, oh yeah, it's another small little obstacle of the day that I'm kind of looking forward to. So I think that positive outlook on something hard and doing mundane everyday activities, but do it in a way that's like you actually find a lot of joy out of it.
Yeah.
So that is something that I think probably carried and translated into hunting really well because a lot of times in hunting, you may not see anything. Like in the blacktail country I hunt, I may not see really a deer in a day. You can cover a lot of
Yeah.
miles. You can get really discouraged in a hurry. Um,
Yeah.
and you could let that discouragement tell yourself a story like they're just not here. I missed
Right.
them. This year's different. Oh, we didn't get the right conditions. You can tell yourself
Mhm.
all these stories that kind of help you justify why your success is not happening. And I don't believe that that is very good for like sustainability or longevity or really having a good time. And so I tell myself like basically I can't wait to feel what today is like. Like I kind of like the rain and cold. I kind of like suffering and keeping my hands in my sleeves just to keep my fingers working enough that if I have to
Yeah.
draw back, I could draw back and still feel my trigger. Um,
Mhm.
it's kind of weird that I enjoy that type of suffering. And it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to actually go live it and do it day after day, where you get home and your knees are so sore that you can hardly get out of bed. Um, you're pre-hypothermic and you lost 15 pounds from that week because you couldn't eat enough and you forget to eat because you're like so
Yeah.
into it. It's really weird that yeah, it's weird. And the best I could say is like, why does anybody enjoy to do something like an ultra marathon or something very extreme? Why would somebody enjoy scaling a rock without any fall protection and do it, as if they're running, like
Yeah.
Alex Honnold up El Cap? Um, so it's like there's things that humans do, and they could be obscure, bizarre, difficult, suffering, but yet we grow to love it, kind
Mhm.
of crave it, enjoy it, look forward to the next time. A lot of people, when they run their first race or something too, like they're running and they're like, oh, that was terrible. Then you get done and you're like, short term memory. I loved it. Can't wait to sign
Yeah.
up for my next 10K, or whatever it
Yeah.
is. So I would say that the way I blacktail hunt, I developed a love for it, and I can't change that. I think about it all the time. I really look forward to the next time I get to go out and hike and just, yeah, it feels right.
Yeah, I that's such an amazing way to look at it. I think that's probably why I can sit in a deer stand as long as I do because I don't wear, I may have my phone, whatever tells me the time, but maybe I ought to take that up for running is not wear a watch.
Yeah.
My problem is then I'll probably run like a 15-minute mile or something.
Just
I'm a terrible runner.
no,
My
it's not for everybody.
my my wife is the runner.
Oh, cool.
I bike a lot. When I'm hunting,
Yeah.
but I get a lot of cardio from kettlebells and that kind of thing. So there's where it is. But my wife loves to run. Like she was a water polo player, and
Wow. That's so tough, by
she
the way. Oh my gosh.
yeah she she almost got to go to the Olympics with the team that
Whoa.
she played for. She played in Spain for almost a year, I think, 6 months or something, like 6 to 9 months, and she ended up blowing her knees out, and like they she kind of lost her scholarship for that because she had to have all the cartilage removed from her knees. So instead
Mm.
of playing water polo, she played rugby for a year. I was
Oh
like,
my
oh yeah,
goodness.
that's really good for your knees,
That's a surprise there, but
Yeah,
wow, good for her.
yeah,
What an athlete. Cause yeah, well, staying afloat is hard. And then being able to still play a sport, throwing a ball
yeah,
around and then
yeah.
swimming, I would
Yeah,
drown.
yeah. I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Yeah.
When we talk about all the hard stuff that we do, and it is something that like there's some days where you go out and you're like, that absolutely sucked. And it's like one of those things where you're like, in the moment, you're like, I'm never doing this again. And as soon as you get home and you get a shower and eat some food, you're like, all right, when's the next time I get to go back?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah. But the one thing that I told you that I was going to ask, and I'm sticking to it because it's something that I know that we're both passionate about when it comes to doing these hard things in the woods and loving those hard things in the woods and loving the fitness aspect of it. And, there's nothing that I don't love about hunting. I love getting my teeth kicked in. I love being successful. I love the nature part of it. I love the creation part of it. I love the foul weather part. I love the good weather part. I love it all. What is it about hunting and doing hard things that you connect to your faith?
I feel like so much of that hard effort is your dependence on something like outside of yourself. And I always feel like
Mhm.
God is that dependence and we're made, we're created to depend on God. And so I feel the most connected out in creation. And the scriptures do say like creation should point to the creator. And so
Yeah.
it really does. You don't like worship the creation, you worship the creator, but it's just that it draws you even more to your relationship with God if you have one. And so for me personally, I love that dependence and knowing that I can be weak and that's okay. Like
Mhm.
I can suffer and that's okay because uh I have a creator and I feel as though like I was made to do this and I was made to
Yeah.
depend on something more than me. And I know that I
Yeah.
could be weak. So that's, those are all things that kind of come to mind.
Bow hunting can be almost in a negative light, can almost be like it's very solo sport a lot of times. Like, I
Mm.
mean, you might be out with a buddy, or you might do the camp vibe where you're all meeting in the house, or maybe you do like to go bird hunting with people or whatever that is. But I do think it's a really good recharge for the batteries, and I'm going to let you speak on this. But where do you find that you are using it to maybe you are recharging your batteries, but you're using hunting as a way to share your faith with other people, even though bow hunting can be such a solo endeavor?
Yeah, that's a good question. It can be something that you're doing for yourself. I think that that absolutely could be something about hunting, but
Hmm.
yeah, I've never thought of it that way because I think as hunters, as from the beginning of time, hunting was meant for a very specific purpose to bring home the
Mm,
meat or whatever and supply. So there
hmm.
is such a sense of purpose. And I
Yeah.
feel like we are all given different gifts and sense of purpose. And if you're a provider, and so in my family, I'm the provider. Like that
Yeah.
is, it's a thing that some people like to give as labels, but also it's literally what I enjoy. Like I ask my wife, how can I support you? Like I go to her all the time, like, how can I help you? Like, what can I do right now? I feel like a lot's going on. What can I do to help you right now? Because I want to provide. I want to support. And hunting is absolutely that. So even if I'm by myself, it doesn't matter. I'm still accomplishing that purpose. And I feel like that's a
Yeah.
God given purpose. And then in terms of sharing it, so I do like to make films and I usually like to share what I'm about. And I don't want to be, portraying something that is telling someone the way that it has to be. I'm just like, this is who I am and this is what I believe. And so in a lot of my
Yeah.
films, I'll introduce that I believe in God and I believe that God has a purpose for us, or I just will sometimes say a scripture and how that relates to how I'm thinking about the hunt. And so those are just things that I would feel are ways to share my faith. And then sometimes when I do hunt with buddies, there's a couple buddies that I have that are also really strong in their faith, and we have great conversations on the drive there, during the hunt, after the
Yeah.
hunt, and those conversations really resonate with me, and I chew on it. And it says too, like the scriptures, like to meditate on the word, and that word meditate was like the original text was like to chew on it, like kind of like a really gristly piece of meat or something that you can't actually chew up. You're like just continuing to
Yeah.
chew on it. And that's kind of the way is like when you're out in the woods. And I feel like the scripture's chock full of really good, hopeful truth, light giving things that any person would benefit from, whether or not they had a strong faith or a weak faith. I feel like the scriptures are there. It's God's word. It's the good news. Like
Yeah.
this word is meant to drive us and to fuel us. And so I love those times where I can hunt with other people. I don't do it a lot, but there's a certain buddy that I've hunted with quite a bit. And yeah, and it's like we kind of sharpen each other, and really I get to meditate on that word. Not just that hunt, but you take it with you. Every single time you
Yeah.
step in the woods, it's like your brain picks right back up where you left off. And and I feel like that's God's way of really working through us, and and sometimes giving us, like a word we need to hear. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, that's for me.
I love that answer, man. I do think there's something so special about hunters too, is when you do that hard stuff together and you're doing it to accomplish a task, whether or not you're hunting with maybe it's like, I mean, how many text threads do people have going on? Like, oh, well, who's seeing this today, or what's going on here?
Yeah.
There's something that kind of connects you, even if you're not hunting together, and those connections, I do think, lead to sharing God, to sharing faith, even if even though if those people don't have the same mindset as you, I think it's so important. And I love what you said about it all, man. Just chewing on that. I like that. I like that grizzly piece of meat analogy. That's a good one, dude. It's already, we've been in this like an hour and 10 minutes already. You got 5 sick kids at home.
Yeah,
Dude, thank you so much for coming on here and talking to me tonight. I really appreciate
absolutely.
it. It's been a
Yeah,
lot of
thanks for
fun
reaching
getting to know
out.
you, buddy.
Likewise.
Um, so where can people find all your stuff? I know where to find your stuff, but where can all my listeners find you?
Yeah. Well, I have the social media platforms. I'm not on it a whole lot, but I'm there. And so it's my name, Nathan Endicott on Facebook. I'm Nathan for You on Instagram. And my YouTube is Nathan Endicott Films. So you can kind of
Cool.
find me in those places. But I'm just out here doing my
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. And I'll add all those links to the show notes, man. So,
Cool.
because people got to see your stuff. It's so good.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Dude, thank you so much again. I'll talk to you
absolutely.
soon.
Yep. Have a good night.
You too. Well, that's a wrap in camp. Thanks again so much for listening. Check out Nathan's YouTube channel at Endicott Films. Check out Nathan on Instagram at Nathan the number 4U. This guy's content is, again, it's unmatched. I love watching his stuff. You can follow the show on Apple and Spotify and iHeartRadio. You can follow us on YouTube. You can check us out on Instagram, see what we got going on. It's at @InCamp_podcast. You can email me at incamppodcast@gmail.com if you have any suggested topics or things you'd like to hear. Thanks again for listening week after week. This has been a really great year for me, and I appreciate you joining. So we'll talk to you next week. This is InCamp Podcast.